What happens when the winner of the biggest airline merger in history slowly becomes the industry's underdog? In 2013, American Airlines merged with US Airways and emerged as the largest airline on the planet, boasting over 1,500 aircraft and 7 major hubs stretched across the globe. For a moment, it looked untouchable, a giant that no competitor could realistically challenge. 12 years later, that giant is retreating. Routes have been cancelled, key airports abandoned, and market share quietly handed over to a rival that spent the same decade building something far more durable: United Airlines. This is the story of how a merger meant to create dominance instead created a decade-long disadvantage. A gift called Newark, United's own merger, the 2010 combination with Continental Airlines, was far from smooth, plagued by clashing technology systems and years of cultural friction between two very different workforces. But buried inside that messy integration was a prize that would eventually define United's entire strategy: Newark Liberty International Airport, sitting just across the Hudson River from Manhattan. Newark wasn't just another airport, it was the gateway to the single most lucrative travel market in America, the New York corporate traveler. From there, United expanded outward strategically, turning Newark, San Francisco, Houston, Washington, Dulles, and Los Angeles into international launch points built specifically to capture premium, high-paying passengers flying across the Atlantic and Pacific. The architecture of dominance airline competition doesn't work like most industries, where a company can simply add more supply and win. Gates, runways, and takeoff slots are finite, meaning whoever arrives first and builds the deepest network of loyal corporate accounts holds an advantage that can take a rival a decade to even dent. United turned that early advantage into something closer to a fortress. At Washington Dulles, it runs wide-body jets on purely domestic routes, not because those planes are necessary, but because frequency and premium cabin space are exactly what wins multi-year corporate travel contracts. When American tried to launch a competing non-stop route into that market in 2026, United was already carrying 88% of every local passenger on the corridor before American's first flight even took off. The weight of $36 billion. Cancelled routes make headlines, but they aren't really the story. The real story is why American has almost no way to fight back. Matching United at its strongest airports would require fresh, wide-body jets, upgraded lounges, and heavy investment in technology and reliability. And every one of those things costs capital American simply doesn't have to spare. By the end of 2025, American was carrying roughly $36.5 billion in total debt, forcing it to pay close to $1.9 billion every year in interest alone. United, by contrast, finished paying off its mileage plus loyalty program debt nearly 2 years ahead of schedule, freeing up a loyalty asset some analysts value at close to $20 billion to reinvest in new premium cabins and aircraft. A lost lifeline. There was one plan that might have let American break free of this trap: the Northeast Alliance with JetBlue. American was weak at Newark and struggling at JFK, but JetBlue already held strong positions across New York and Boston. So teaming up meant sharing resources without spending billions to build a presence from scratch. Regulators saw it differently. The Department of Justice argued the partnership would concentrate too much control over critical markets, and the courts sided with them. With the Supreme Court declining American's final appeal in mid-2025, American was sent back to rebuild its Northeast strategy alone, while United's Newark hub kept posting some of its best on-time performance since the pandemic. United's quiet conquests zoom out, and the pattern becomes impossible to miss. United now runs 7 primary hubs, including Chicago, O'Hare, and Los Angeles, the exact 2 cities where its network overlaps directly with American's. In both of those markets, United has kept expanding aggressively while American has been forced into retreat. At O'Hare, United planned such an aggressive capacity increase for summer 2026 that federal regulators had to step in and force reductions, yet its schedule still ended up well above the previous year's levels. Meanwhile, American trimmed frequencies and shrank its own presence, becoming the smaller carrier at a hub it has operated for decades. Why American can't close the gap? None of this is accidental. It is a deliberate strategy aimed at the exact airports that connect passengers to the most profitable international routes on the map. Every time United deepens its hold on a hub city, it becomes more likely that Americans connecting passengers simply rebook onto a United flight instead. By 2025, United had grown into the world's largest airline, generating $59.1 billion in revenue and $3.4 billion in net income, roughly double American's profit margin. American still flies more domestic routes than any other U.S. carrier and has genuinely made progress paying down debt, cutting $2.1 billion in a single year. But the strategic high ground already belongs to its rival. Is the sky already decided? So where does this leave American Airlines? It still has scale, loyal customers, and a real plan to reduce its debt burden, but rebuilding premium infrastructure at hubs United already dominates may take far longer than 1 decade did to lose. The merger that was meant to crown American the most powerful airline on earth ended up handing United the tools to quietly take its place. We want to know what you think. Can American realistically fight its way back into these gateway cities, or has United's head start become permanent? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this deep dive into the business behind the skies, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the World Documentaries, and join us for the next story.